Hello and welcome back to Taking Back Saturday, a Happy Buyers Club podcast where we break down the real estate market each and every Friday to help home buyers build confidence, follow a process, and hopefully buy really happy. I'm your host, lead chair, Chayse Jones, and joining me as he does each and every week on the other side of the table, guest spot, Sam Hunter.
Left side, strong side.
How good, my friend?
Yep.
Welcome to the conclusion of the Buyer How-To series. And
Is this the last episode?
I think so. Well, it makes sense that if it's not the last, it's pretty close to the end because it's titled Holy SHIT, You've Just Bought a House.
How good. How exciting.
Well,
Hopefully you've done it in the 6 weeks that you've been listening to this show with a couple of filler reps thrown in along the way.
If you have, send us a DM.
For sure.
Because that'd be a nice little stamp at the end of it being certified by username.
Never had to listen to another episode of that show.
Delete
Thank
the app.
God.
Delete the app.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Holy shit, you bought a house. Awesome. But guess what? Welcome to admin week.
Yeah.
I have literally just dragged and dropped out what we do for our clients once we get an offer accepted, almost like the 10 tasks that then have to take place over the next 30 days or 60 days, whatever it may be. And some of them have to happen pretty quickly. So as much as it's pop the champagne, maybe not finish the bottle.
Definitely.
There's stuff to be done.
Yep. If you can, take a day off work.
Yeah, for sure. We had some, Sam's a real admin Sam. He is this is where Sam
Thank
really
you, mate.
does thrive.
I appreciate that.
In the post contracts completed sort of 48 hours, that's where Sam just does some of his best work. So let's kick it off, man. Contracts are completed. We get them on email. Who needs to get them?
Hopefully you get them on email, and hopefully you get them on email the day, morning, afternoon, night that you've signed them. Everybody that we've talked about throughout this series needs to get a copy of that contract. Your mortgage broker needs a copy. Your solicitor needs a copy. You guys just need a copy to have the confidence that what you all handshook on and those couple of yellow buttons that you pushed on the DocuSign has actually been signed from the other side. And once you get that, if you have conditions, it very much feels like you are on the clock. And to a certain extent, you are. There would have been terms to which you said you would perform to within your offer. That offer has now been accepted. The onus is very much on you to do as you said you were going to do.
And it's good to make sure that everyone in your buyer team is aware of what those dates are and what those obligations are. So it's, writing down what those important dates are. So it might be when's your deposit due, when's your balance deposit due, when's your finance due, when's your building and pest due, when is settlement. All those dates need to go into an email with your completed contracts, and it needs to go to solicitor, broker, you, buying partners, whoever else needs to know about it.
We talk about it with our clients that we want to know those dates before a solicitor comes back to us outlining them as well. It can feel very rushed if your contract gets sent to the solicitor by the real estate agent, which is usually what happens. The agent will circulate those contracts. It may be their admin team circulating those contracts, and their admin team might get to it at 4 o'clock
the next day,
right? Which means potentially you have lost a day already. So knowing if we sign a contract today, it's Monday the 17th of February, we know that 7 days from today is going to be Monday the 24th of February, and we've got till 5 p.m. to satisfy our building and pest clause or to have got our finance approved or whatever it might be. And knowing those days ahead of time and being able to go to those key parties like, hey, lawyer, we're going to nail our finance the next 7 days. Be ready to ideally satisfy it before 4:59 on the 24th. To your mortgage broker, we've got 7 days, order the valuation today. Here's the contract. They need a contract to be able to do that work. So just being able to get it to all these people early takes a lot of the pressure off you guys. And then all you've kind of got to do is pay some money to a trust account and potentially arrange some insurance. And we're going to talk through some of these steps as well.
Nice one. Yeah, definitely confirm that everyone gets their copies as well. Sending attachments via email can often get caught up in filters. Mm-hmm. No harm in sending a text or a call to follow it up to be like, hey, like we discussed earlier, I have bought a house. I have sent you the contract. I'll put the important dates on there. Get cracking. You're going to need to organise your building and pest if you haven't already pre-booked a building and pest. It's all part of admin week.
Yep.
But the sooner you can get that stuff locked in and can satisfy those said clauses, the better. Straight off the bat though, typically within a day of having signed a contract, you will have to pay an initial deposit. It might be, if you've offered unconditionally, you might be paying your full whack of deposit. First, you need to confirm the trust account details. Mm-hmm. They will be on the contract for the most part, not always. Still call whether it be the selling agent or the selling agent's team or the admin, whoever needs to speak to from the agency, get those details confirmed over the phone.
100%. Do not pay a cent to anyone's trust account anywhere, no matter how trustworthy and the same the numbers are, unless you've had those numbers read back to you by somebody who's also representing that business. This is where it goes wrong for a lot of people. This is that news.com.au article where you see young first-home buyer had their dreams dashed because they sent their 70 grand to the wrong account. You might get that money back if your bank plays ball, but that is a really shitty situation to find yourselves in, and 9.999 times out of 10 can be avoided with a phone call.
No, for sure.
To just confirm everything.
And it's a huge whack of money. What's the harm in making one extra phone call?
For sure.
And they're more than willing to obviously relay those details to you over the phone.
I mean, we've had it in the past where we've had initial deposits of $1,000, 5,000. Sometimes it can be 25,000 just for that initial, and we still feel it's like you've confirmed it. We've said it's like the contract. We've written it down, and we've also taken a screenshot of that contract so that there's 3 sets of account details, all saying the same thing in 3 different formats, so that you can be pretty sure that it's going to the right place. But then it doesn't land and you don't get a receipt for 24 hours. So you go, we've just sent 75 grand off. Did it go the right place? Well, I know we confirmed it, but just to be sure. And that's another thing to expect when you go through this process is ideally get them to confirm receipt of it, because they should be able to see it in the account, but it won't clear for maybe 24 hours. And that's just a weight off your shoulders if you know that it's kind of ended up in the right spot. But then legally, any dollar, any cent that you deposit into a trust account has to be receipted, and it should be receipted the same business day as it clears. So you should expect a receipt of whatever initial and balance deposit you pay. That's got to go to your solicitor as well. It's a tick box exercise for them. If they don't see a copy of it, they'll chase you for it. You'll feel like you've got less time than you do. So all these things, if you expect them to happen, you just follow a process, you manage expectations really well, and ideally admin week goes super smoothly.
Yeah, in terms of managing expectations as well, a bit of give and take there. Like if you pay that initial deposit, take a screenshot, send that to the selling agent so that they know that you've made good on your side of things.
100p.
Again, things do take time to clear. So giving them the screenshot to say that you've done as much, that will be returned in favour when they then issue you with a trust account receipt, which you'll forward onto your solicitor, and they will tick that box. And speaking of tick boxes, I am definitely going to get this list, and I'm going to dump this into the show notes, because I think this is a good list for people to have of just, completing contracts, sending them off, paying deposits, confirm trust account details. It's all good stuff, but it is, now that we're 5 minutes into this podcast, I'm realising how truly mind-numbing this might sound.
And I think this was probably the biggest lesson that we have learnt throughout this business is no matter how many times you go through the finding and buying a house process, this is always the bit where everyone's like, oh my God, I didn't realize there was so much involved. And it all happens within the first 3 days. Right. So again, we've signed contracts, we've sent them off, we've paid our deposits, we've booked a building and pest. Ideally, it's going to happen soon. So we've got more than an evening or a morning to review it and decide if we're going to be satisfied with that or not. You've got to, if you've bought a property in Queensland at least, that property is at your risk to be insured by 5 p.m. the next business day on the date of contract. If you've bought a unit or an apartment in a body corporate complex, there will be insurance for that complex already. You do need to provide a certificate of currency for that insurance, probably if you're getting a home loan, for them to sort of release a mortgage on that property. There are some lenders, and again, this is a conversation to have with your broker, that will require you to have contents insurance as well for things like floorboards and air conditioning units and kitchen benches, just in case that the owners or the tenants who are in there during your settlement period decide to flood the house. So just, it's important to ask your broker, what kind of insurances am I going to need? If you bought a house, you just need to go and get building insurance on that property, because that property is at your risk from 5 p.m. the next business day. We always say to our clients, call your current insurer. Whether if you're renting and buying your first home, call the people you have contents insurance with and say, hey, I've just bought a house. You're going to get way more money out of me, but ideally I'd like a cover note for nothing for the next 30 days before I actually own the property. And then I'll take out my full insurance. Some will do it, some won't. If you're moving, upgrading, downsizing, and you sort of already have home insurance, call them again. If you just do the online form, you're paying for it from day one.
Getting the double dip.
But if you make that phone call and you invest ideally 15 minutes of time, it's very likely that you'll get insurance on the new property for the settlement period, either at a much reduced cost, or ideally they'll lump it in for free. It's just a good thing to do to retain your business ongoing.
For sure. But I think this is certainly something that I know for a lot of our first home buyers that are just like, what?
Yeah.
I've not even got the
don't own
keys
it
yet.
Yeah.
I haven't got the keys. I haven't paid for the thing yet, and yet I'm responsible for if anything goes wrong with it.
Yeah.
It's just part of it, and this is probably one of those ones that we'll timestamp for this episode because it's like 5 p.m. the next day. It is at your risk, so be sure to get cover note. Contents insurance if you need to for the building, for if it's got building insurance already for a bigger strata complex.
For sure. And like we've had clients say to us like, oh, do we need it? And I was like, you'd hate for it to burn down in the next 28 days.
Well, we're going to tell you about it. Your solicitor's also going to tell you about it.
Yeah.
But better to sort of realise this stuff ahead of time so it's not a shock because, like with anything, when you're buying a house, there are just costs that come about. Like it's not just the purchase price. Like you are up for stamp duty, you're up for insurance, you got your deposit. This is all real money. You can't borrow all these things. So make sure that you've got money set aside for all this stuff. And that's, that might have been one for episode 2 as opposed to episode 8. But here we go. And speaking of your solicitor, and they will be, and once they've got their completed contracts, they'll send you the next wave of emails they're going to come through. And often these ones, they might read a little scarier sometimes because it's full of, legal speak. But hopefully if you've got a great solicitor that can slow down and sort of walk you through it, it's not as scary as it seems.
This is the part of the process that I think could be done a little... Sorry to any solicitors that listen to this podcast. There's probably not many of you, but there's a couple. This is where I reckon you can slow down to speed up. Maybe we should just call this whole series that, because I say it every single week. You should take a shot every time I say slow down to speed up.
It's like, wow,
Ding.
Friday morning, thank you.
When you buy a house and you get through this like contract sending out period, your mortgage broker is under probably the most pressure to perform in that first week. They're ordering valuations, they're making sure everything's tick box, they're confirming all your numbers again in case anything's changed from your pre-approval that might have been submitted 2 months earlier, and they're ideally getting you a formal approval within 7 days. For most people, sometimes it's within 2 days, sometimes it might be a little bit longer. Your solicitor kind of doesn't necessarily sit on their hands for the first few days, but they'll probably do the vast majority of their work when you're unconditional. And that is things like ordering all of your searches, making sure that they know everything they possibly need to know about you. So verifying IDs, why have you bought that property, what's your intention with that property. They will also send you a questionnaire, like 1, all about the property, and 2, all about you. For any solicitors listening, send a questionnaire that's all about the client earlier. Like we talked in episode 1 or 2 about getting your team together. Whenever someone's introduced to you, or whenever you decide that, yep, that person is going to be my solicitor when I buy a property, ask them for their questionnaire and authority, which is like, what are your date of births? Can we confirm your IDs? Are you buying for an investment property? Are you buying to live in it? Do you have any other income lurking around anywhere? Is your deposit coming out of super or shares or whatever it might be? Are you like, is this money available? It's like a 20-minute questionnaire that could be 10 plus pages long, that when everyone gets it on the day they've bought a house, it feels very overwhelming.
For sure.
If you can nail that, solicitors and buyers who are talking to solicitors early, because you're following this and you're a happy buyer, get all through that early so you know what it is. Then when you buy a house, you've kind of done all the hard work. Then it's like you're filling in the last few questions about the property itself. Like, is the property near any planned major roadworks or whatever it is? Are you aware that there's any contaminated land on the property or anything like that? Most of these questions are just no. And good lawyers will walk you through them as well. Whether they charge you for that time or not is going to be up to them. But having a 16-page questionnaire to complete, and it's like you need to get this back to us by close of business Friday, is a little terrifying for a lot of people, whether it's their first home, their second home, whether it's just admin.
Yeah, and you wonder
you
why
can do up front.
You wonder why Sam says take a day off work.
For sure.
Because, everything just takes time. And they are all important steps, and it's worth taking the time to make sure that they're done properly.
Yep.
So, and to that point, there are searches, like you said, that will take place once a property goes unconditional in the run into settlement that a solicitor will look after. And these searches can range from bankruptcy checks, land tax checks, and they're all... there are a whole swath of searches that can take place, and they will ask you which ones you want. Those 2 that I mentioned are probably 2 of the most important ones.
Yeah, you'll get a list of searches, and invariably a solicitor will say, let us know which ones you want us to do.
And they've all got a little price tag next to them as well.
And you look at it and you're like, this is a 12-page document full of things that I've never heard of. I'm literally looking at one from a solicitor that we saw the other day. And they are lumped into categories of like must-haves, recommended searches, and you tell us if you want us to do
Well, that's better.
these.
That's a better layout than just here's everything.
For sure. And like the must-haves, when you sign a contract, there's a very likely chance that you'll get a title search attached to that. That's really good best practice from a lot of agents here in Queensland. Your solicitor still needs to do one of their own. That's a legal thing that they have to do. So you've got to do a title search. You've got to get a registered plan search. They will do a Department of Environmental and Science, I think it's called, which is just making sure that the land isn't contaminated. It wasn't a petrol station that they've then built a house on and no one's talked about it, right?
A former rifle range.
They'll do a land tax search just to make sure that there's no land tax owing on that property that then could fall to you if you became the new owner. And if there is, then it'll get taken out of settlement funds and adjustments. They'll do a rate search. They'll do a water search so that on the day of settlement, when you take the keys, you're only paying for the water ongoing that you're using, and you're only paying for the apportionment of rates that will be in that quarter that you've happened to buy in, right? We always say to our clients, do a bankruptcy search. You just want to know if there's a interesting reason why somebody might be selling their property, and that property could be attached to their debts, not necessarily their names. And so you don't want to inherit anybody's debt by buying the wrong property at the wrong time. A bankruptcy search can do that for you. If it turns out that they are bankrupt, you actually have rights to terminate that contract. So it's useful to have. If you're buying into a body corporate, you can do a full body corporate search, which is, it takes just over 2 weeks. So it's difficult if you're putting a subject to body corporate searches clause on your contract way back in agreeing an offer. It's probably got to be 14 days, and you will get that body corporate search, which will be a document up to 500-600 pages of everything that has ever happened in that.
Every
it's difficult
quote,
to read
every
that.
invoice.
You get that, and it's like, hey, and the lawyer will say to you, you review this, or you can pay for my time to review it, and it'll be a few hours at a couple $100 an hour. What do you want to do? And you're like, whoa. Which is why we say get AGM minutes early, because reading the AGM, you don't need to read every invoice for the last 15 years of that complex. You do want to know what's happened in the last 2 years and what's probably planned for the next 2 years. And AGM minutes will tell you that. A body corporate search will tell you that too, but not for 2 weeks. And it'll probably cost you a few $100 to get it, and then a few $100 for a lawyer to review it and give you their comments. So the recommended searches, I think, are useful, and they're probably all up maybe another $300 on whatever your solicitor or conveyancer will be charging you. For us, it's worthwhile money. The nice to have searches can be registered encumbrances. They do a main roads search, which costs $50, and it tells you if the property you've bought is on a main road. If you've bought it, you might probably know already if it's on a main road. Maybe you don't.
What?
Who knows, right? They'll do a flood search if you're buying a house in Brisbane. Whether you've used a developer report or just jumped on the council website, you're going to know if there's any associated flood risk. So if you're, I think, a organised buyer, as we sort of call them there. So these are the sort of things that you can make a judgment call on. Certainly there are required, and certainly there are recommended. Our advice to our clients is go hard at the recommended. You have to get the required. Everything else we've probably already talked about with them before we even gone and looked at the property. That may not be the same for every buyer. So at this point in time, when you get this 12-page search document, you go back to your lawyer and you say, hey, I know these say recommended, but are they all recommended? And would you do anything else? It was your house.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing. And don't be terrified that this is not going to be thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that are piled in on top. They've each got, it's like a menu. You will get the list of searches, and there's a little price tag next to them. And they can range from, $60 to a couple $100 for some of the others. But again, it's all about communication. And if you've, introduced yourself ahead of time, and you've got a somewhat of a relationship with this solicitor prior to just sending a contract and being like, hi, I'm Sam, I've just bought this, help.
What are your fees?
Yeah. Like if you've agreed stuff ahead of time, if you've done your buyer questionnaire so they know who you are, you can probably have a conversation with them about what they would suggest, and then action accordingly. And it's all good stuff.
For sure. And
it's all about protecting yourself.
It just means that when you get through this week, there's just no alarms and no surprises. You know what you're getting. All the last thing that really comes in, you know what it costs, you know what you're getting, you know the process, your broker's ready, you just need a contract.
Yep.
And then everyone gets that contract, and it just starts this tick box exercise.
Yeah. Cool. I feel like we've covered a lot of the admin side of things, at least paperwork.
That's
emails.
week one.
Great. Welcome to week one. during that time, try and, once you've gone unconditional and you've satisfied your clauses, which again, you have to communicate with your solicitor once you want to satisfy those clauses, go get a photo with your sold sign. There's another little milestone along the way. That's good stuff.
For sure.
Make sure you tell the seller or the selling agent that you're going there, and you don't just lump up on someone's front lawn and they're like, hey, I'm still living here. So a bit of courtesy there. You are entitled to a pre-settlement inspection, speaking of lumping up on someone's front lawn. So prior to settlement, whether that be the day before or morning of settlement, you have the right to go through and inspect the property and make sure it is as per the last time that you inspected the property.
Sure. You could do it the day after you sign the contract if you want, but you only legally get one chance for them not to be able to say, no, you can't come back through.
And remember as well, people are moving for the most part as well. Like, you are going to be moving into a house that someone else is moving out of. So trying to work out what's going to best suit for both yourself and them to make sure that you're seeing the house once they've moved everything out. Most of the damage could potentially be done with a move.
And that's the whole point, right? We say to our clients, they're like, why would we go back when we're moving in the next day? I was like, well, if they've moved their beds out or they've moved their couches out or whatever it might be, you just want to make sure that they're not putting holes in walls.
For sure.
Because that's the sort of stuff that there would be cause to remedy. Like, that is where they would have to fix that hole in the wall. I've never seen it happen. I've never actually been to a pre-settlement where anyone's done anything other than being like, hell yeah, we're moving in tomorrow. How good's this?
Geez, this place looks big without the furniture in it.
Yeah, or small. But yeah, it is, I think, an important part of the process, and it's all very real, and it just gives you an opportunity to make sure that what you were buying on a contract is what you're buying in reality at the point of nearing settlement.
Yeah. Okay. So it's settlement day, and this is where the magic of PEXA comes in, which is a system in which everyone, both sides, sort of pump in all their
Plums
details,
their maths into, and it figures it out.
Talking about settlement adjustments and rates and all that sort of stuff, and it is a queued system which usually will log you in for a settlement time. Now, like a 30-minute sort of slot on a settlement day. Don't expect that it's going to clear at the time that you've been booked in for.
Let's say that you're settling on Friday, the 28th of February, and your settlement time is 12 noon. There's a very high chance that you'll get an email from your solicitor about 2 o'clock to say, congratulations, settlement has happened. Either please get the keys or please hand over the keys. Think of it like, if you've ever watched 90s spy movies, it's like the nuclear code football thing where two keys go in, they have to turn them at the same time. It's not quite at the same time, but both solicitors actually do the settlement process manually, and they kind of have to both be available, logged in onto the settlement portal on PEXA, they call it, and they're both pushing their big red button at the same time. Yeah,
nice one. And once that all happens, you're getting the green light. It's going to collect keys.
For sure.
You've done it.
Lots of numbers go from one PEXA account to the other. And you own that house. There's a bit of legwork that the lawyers do behind the scenes to transfer ownership and title updates, and they'll update. We have this question all the time of how do I know that my water bill is going to be in my name? Solicitors take care of all of that. Thankfully, you'll just get a water bill one day in your name at your new house, which is pretty cool. It's the same thing with rates notice. They sort that out with the council on your behalf. It just means that everything is as it should be from the correct dates. There's nothing really left to chance. But yeah, they push that red button. Settlement's happened. You'll get an email, probably. If you've got a good lawyer, you might even get a phone call. And it's a big congrats. If you're working with us, you get a pretty big congrats at this point in time because you bought a house.
And speaking of settlement day, which can often be moving day for potentially two parties, both a seller and a buyer, give yourself some time here. Give yourself a buffer. We understand that, particularly if you are a seller yourself, that, you're probably boxing everything up, it's on a truck in the morning, and then it's just a holdover and waiting for settlement. But just recognizing that that's probably going to be the case, understand that you're probably booking a removalist for the entire day, and they will be waiting around, and that's okay because it's just all part of the process. You can't rush PEXA to do its thing, particularly if there's a whole line of simultaneous settlements that need to take place to make your settlement happen. But just recognize that you're ordering pizza that night. You might just be building a couple of beds, or you're putting the mattresses on the floor. It's a stressful day, but just understanding that there's a lot of moving pieces, literally.
For sure.
A lot of moving pieces like furniture, but it's all just part of the day.
I would say that, if you are selling and buying, and it happens to all be settling on the same day, that is probably the most stressful day of this entire process. I'm really sorry to say that. It's the last day of the process, except for unboxing your shit, which is just a
never ending.
Yeah. We say to our clients all the time, it's like, we come over here in 2 weeks' time and you're completely unboxed. You're special.
Yeah.
That's just crazy. Because real estate might suck, but moving sucks way more. And if you expect the stress, and as Chayse said, you can book a removalist for an entire day, that might cost an extra couple of $100, but it just is going to mean that you're not on the clock, you're not clock watching, they're not clock watching, everyone kind of knows where they need to be. And if settlement is delayed by a couple of hours, which I reckon 8 times out of 10 it is, well, you've planned for it. And so you just chill. It is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. And like, it's probably speaking to that, when you move into a new property, it is what it is. Like, there is going to be creaks.
For sure.
Like, no matter how thorough you've inspected the property, you've been back multiple times, you've been back with a building inspector, there's going to be stuff. There just always is. There's always little things. Don't feel like you're a dum-dum that missed something, because you're not. It's just the reality of buying, particularly properties that could be 50, 60, 70 years
For
old.
sure.
But it's all okay. If you've, bought a fundamentally sound house, a water leak out the back or something like that, shit happens, and it's going to happen. But just being okay with it, and that knowing that fundamentally you bought a fantastic house, and that's a couple $100 and that's all good, is still all gravy.
Yeah, it definitely takes a few weeks to know like how to turn the shower on to be the hot water level that you want it to be. And again, if you walk into it with your eyes open and you expect this, it's not a bad experience. It's just a new experience, and it slowly but then very quickly becomes your house. It's a super weird thing moving into a new property, because you've probably been comfortable somewhere for a really long period of time, and then after hopefully 6 podcast episodes and 6 weeks in the active market being the most organized buyer, you've ended up buying something, and then 30 days later maybe you're moving in. You feel like, I genuinely believe for a couple of weeks that you're living in someone else's house.
Yeah.
Right? And you're paying the mortgage, but it doesn't feel like your house. And then one day you wake up and it is yours, and that's when life just gets great.
This took a real twist there into like a psychology podcast, didn't it? I'm going to two things that I want to finish with. One of them is for sellers, and this is seller karma. Like, if you are selling and moving out, clean the house. Clean the house. There is no legal obligation for you as a seller to have the house bond clean and perfectly clean, but be respectful of the people that are moving into your home, and it will come back to you in spades. The place that you move to, you would hope that based on that good karma of being a good seller, you're going to have a clean house to move into as well. So just something to note. And for the buyers out there that have toiled and fought tooth and nail Saturday after Saturday to buy a house, once it's all done and you've got those keys and you've moved in,
I know what you're going to say.
Delete the app. Delete the app. It's not worth,
don't do this to yourself. Look what you turn into.
Look at me. You'll end up on a podcast like this. Delete the app. Unless you are just a tragic that genuinely enjoys it, but don't spend your life stressing about, that house needs to sell for this to make this worth what we paid. It's a tough place to find yourself in, and you're not going to enjoy your new property as you should if you continue to spend your nights scrolling through
waiting for the next notification to come on. I think absolutely delete the app. It makes all the difference, and then you get the opportunity just to not think about real estate for hopefully many, many years. And that's actually pretty enjoyable. Yeah,
and you can just think about making many happy memories in your new house, sitting there on your mattress on the floor, eating pizza on night one.
For sure.
Congratulations. You've come to the end of the Happy Buyers Club Taking Back Saturday Buyer Series. You bought a house. Congratulations. If you're still in the market and trying to buy a house, I'm sorry for this one. But it's good for planning ahead.
That's it. Just keep listening to all the other episodes, and then save this one for when your time comes.
Bookmark, come back to this one. Nice one. He's Sam. I'm Chayse. Cue the song.